I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. A lot of people have been asking for a man by the name of Warren Pollock. He has deep financial Wall Street experience. He is a geopolitical and financial analyst. And I was able to get, I've been trying to get him for actually months, but I was able to get Warren Pollock for a lot of people who've been asking for you to come on. Warren, thank you for joining us today. You now have moved to Florida. So thank you for coming on today from Florida, and thank you for coming on USAWatchdog.com.
It's great to be here, especially in sunny Florida. It's wonderful.
Well, I wanted to start. There's so many places to start with all this, but I just want to start with what is going on in the financial markets. I mean, you got. Let's just start there, and then work our way over to the geopolitical, which is more crazy time. I keep telling myself I'm not crazy. I mean, this repo thing is going nuts, and they're pumping out 60 billion a month, and nobody's talking about the new smartphone or whatever. What is your appraisal about what is going on here in the economy and the news world? And let's start with the financial end.
Well, I think let's start off on this posit. Let's say you were put into an insane asylum and you're forced to listen to news and look at financial statistics. Pretty soon, I think you would go crazy. And right now, the news and the statistics are of such poor quality. They're being managed. They're just meaningless. Worse than that, they're just insane. So my thinking is just to ignore it all. The only financial statistic I really want to be concerned with is in the overview, and that's zero interest rate policy. And what that means basically is that the public sector and vested interests are becoming a larger and larger part of our economy. And this means in turn that we're trending towards what I would call functional communism. And this functional communism is very similar to that of the Soviet communism in that it shares some of the same elements of Soviet communism. It's a little bit different. You had a top guy in the Soviet Union. In the US, we have inverted totalitarianism. That means basically that no one person is responsible for the overview. In Europe, it's even worse. They're trending towards this communism. And what that means to me, the working definition of communism, not the academic description, is that more people are doing things which are unproductive. More of them are being paid off with these sort of copper handcuffs. They have jobs, they have pensions, and the society is becoming totally inflexible. And as a result, things in the society are failing. Just like Chernobyl, we had the 737. We have people able to use their influence to do things which are illegal or immoral. Let's say introducing vaping into our society. Perhaps that might be an illustration of that. We have people involved in make-work jobs, not only in the government, but also healthcare, finance, education. And this is causing our society a tremendous drag on our society. And people that I speak to talk about the invisible hand. There's a lot of people that think of Adam Smith as an economist, and they think about the invisible hand. And there's another economist, which came later, Milton Friedman, and he said, what if the invisible hand is correct and everyone works to self-interest? There is also an invisible hand moving in the opposite direction for all those people that work in his time in government. The society would actually go backwards because people are working to self-interest in the government or public sector. And let's extend on what Milton Friedman talked about and say that governance and government are two separate things. So in our country, we have a system of governance, which consists of healthcare, education, finance, private capital, billionaires, Democrats, Republicans, just an amalgam of people are part of our governance. And they are all working to self-interest. And instead of the invisible hand going in the right direction, the invisible hand in our system is going in the wrong direction as we become more communistic. And we could see the Soviet Union failed under communism. So why wouldn't Europe and the United States fail under the same system? And that's where we are today. So we could turn off the news, we could turn off the political battles, We could turn off all this midget wrestling that we see in the media. We could turn off all the financial metrics that we want, and we could look to the overview. Is our society working, or is it failing? Is it becoming productive or unproductive? Which way is the invisible hand going? Is it going in a positive direction, or is it going in a negative direction? And communism is pretty an unthinking type of system. It really doesn't work, but it works for many people. Many people get their livelihood through communism, where they would have no other livelihood whatsoever were we to have a free market, were we to have a republic or a democracy. And we don't have a republic, we don't have a democracy, we don't have news organs, we don't have financial news, we don't have financial metrics that are meaningful. What we have is an overview trend, and there's pretty much two overview trends in the world. There's a communistic overview trend happening in the US and Europe, and there's a national socialist trend, which is happening in China.
And the national and the communism, and you brought up Chernobyl. You know, Chernobyl, the nuclear power plant, melted down, and they would admit it.
Right, that's a technical failure. So it was a technical failure of their design. So in the 737, we have a technical failure of that design. And then they're so vested in this bad idea that there's no way to get out of that bad idea. So with Chernobyl, they had to maintain these nuclear reactors on the premises of a failure across the country. And with the 737, we can't say that it's time to move on. We bankrupt a company, we bankrupt the country, and a lot of people would lose their entitlements under communism. And
you're saying communism is incompetent.
Communism is very incompetent. It is a frozen type of a system where bad ideas get frozen in. And with things like Silicon Valley, there's no bad idea that Silicon Valley doesn't like. And just like communism was supposed to be academically, everyone is equal. In reality, there was a class structure. Under communism, everyone is equal under the law. Instead, they had the total voiding of law, selective law, and corruption. And we had, in communism, they had, let's say, the steel plant. Now we've melded the organs of state that we need to run a country with our corporations, one in one, hand in hand. So the FAA and Boeing are tied at the hip. We have the tobacco companies and the FDA, they're tied together. And if you want to have a new health insurance company, well, guess what? The guy from Goldman Sachs, the guy's son, can raise capital and government will bless his endeavor. And it's actually a health insurance company like that. And then we have technical failures because of that. We have a big bureaucracy, and that's all functional communism. And then Milton Friedman's invisible hand, all these people are working to their own self-interest, only they want to move the cart backwards. They don't want to move the cart forward. If you had a free market, you'd have everyone working to their own self-interest. However, you might have a more a creative society where people are building society. Here, if you want to open a coffee shop, you can't do that. You need to get the permission of the communist people in your local government. We're in a country with technology, yet our healthcare system grows exponentially. We've expanded the idea of healthcare. There's millions of people involved in insurance processing. It's all a big make-work operation. And when we've outsourced our industry to the National Socialists, we have nothing, absolutely nothing.
And the National Socialists, it's funny, they went from Germany to China, and you're saying the National Socialists are efficient. They are assassins. They are evil.
They're evil incarnate, and also.
And every time you're China, so you're saying, let me just make sure I get in here with you. So we're the clumsy, stupid communists, Europe and the United States.
Clumsy, stupid communists.
And China is the aggressive, brutal, targeted National Socialists.
National Socialists, Nazis.
Explain China.
Well, first of all, let's say, why would American companies put their money with Nazis? like that hasn't happened before.
I've said this many times. Mary Barra is building Chevys in China, where they have a totalitarian regime, where they harvest the organs of dissidents, where they have a social credit scoring system, where they have one party rule, where you have no rights whatsoever. And she thinks it's a good idea to build Chevys over there.
Where they put ethnic people in concentration camps.
Yeah, Mary Barra, General Motors. Yeah.
Where they take over adjacent territories, where they lay claim to vast oceans based on mythology.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
Where they basically also control the narrative in China, where they're just like here, we have sort of this discombobulated, confabulated narrative in the news media or competing narratives. There they have a single narrative, they have a single ethnicity, they have a single state of mind. And they could be, they're not only controlling the narrative domestically, but they're controlling the narrative internationally. Domestically, the people will believe whatever they say. And if they want to agitate the people and get them to be protesting people in the United States, they'll do that. If they want to protest Korea or Japan, they'll do that. But internationally, they're crybaby bullying their way into world domination. So they'll say that Taiwan doesn't exist on the map, and if you are a corporation, you better take them off of your schedule. They're making whole countries unpersons. And a news item of note is Hong Kong. I mean, how many Fox reporters are there on the ground in Hong Kong? How many CNN reporters are there on the ground in Hong Kong? And the answer is none, because it's expensive. But why are our businesses there? And there's a communist explanation to that too. Unlike the Soviet playbook, people in the US have trinkets which are manufactured cheaply in China, and they're called iPhones and other devices. And we're willing to pay off our people and give them these copper handcuffs where they're just tied to our system of governance and enslaved by it. And their minds are enslaved, their bodies are enslaved, and they're happy to be enslaved. And that's where we are in this country. And then off in the distance, as we are being incompetent, greedy, decadent, and lazy, we have a country which wants to take over the world. And they're going to use Blitzkrieg in the form of 5G to do it, an industrial technology which has a big presence in Europe, a technological presence in Europe. And the incompetents in Europe won't even say that they should use Europe-only goods, make Europe great again. That's not even on the agenda. Just pay people off so we can continue this scheme.
And China
rates to zero, so we could suck all the savings out of everyone's pocket and have everyone employed by the state. And by the state, I mean not just the state. I mean corporations and large institutions. Yeah, it's a Highlander. Communism is a Highlander economy. There was an old movie called Highlander.
Yep, there could be only one.
There could be only one. And that's where we are today. There could be only 2 news outlets, 4 corporations that employ them. There could be only 1 brand of cell phone. There could be only 2 brands of cars. And there could be only 1 company that makes aircraft, and they have to be in partnership with the Democrats and the Republicans, because they got to put those manufacturing plants where it's going to give people the most votes. What isn't more communist than that? Or even the F-35. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work, or if it does, or if it's too complex, if we can't fight a war with it, or we couldn't repair it, or no one knows how to fix it. But as long as the business is spread out all over the country, and now guess what? Maybe we could spread our little love all over the world, then the flaws of the technology, they're ignored. And communism ignores fact. It just does. It's fact resistant. And that's what communism is. The housing market is fact resistant. Bitcoin is fact resistant. The news is fact resistant. And you have people that are fact resistant people. And when you confront them with a fact, they look at you like you're crazy.
I just so you know, I canceled my subscription. I've been a long time subscriber. I work for Gannett. I worked for Gannett at the television level back when they were TV and publications together. I canceled my subscription to USA Today. I just got tired. I mean, I just one stupid, lie by omission, propaganda, and I called the guy who's at the his name is Manny. I can't remember his last name. Let's just say Manny. He's in the paper. You can look it up the paper. And he called me back, and I said, you lost me. I mean, you guys are basically an arm of the Democrat Party. You are completely one-sided. You don't even care whether these proceedings in Congress are secret. It's like what? Well, you told us, the president was a Russian spy for 2 years. Did you guys? Well, what do you mean? You told us that the president was a spy for 2 years, a Russian spy. Greg, did you apologize for that?
No, Greg, you just chose one side of this midget wrestling tag team. The Democrats, the other side of the midget wrestling tag team.
Oh, I did Republicans. They both take turns ripping us off. I've always said.
Why isn't Gannett News saying that the Chinese want to build a 1,000-year Reich?
Yeah.
Why aren't they saying that they want to do ethnic cleansing? Why don't they say they want to destroy Japan for all the grievances of World War II? Why don't you say that the Chinese are, quote, butthurt by being victimized by the Chinese and by the European powers and through the Boxer Rebellion, and they're the superior race. And they have the best form of government. And by the way, they can bend reality because only a few people are party members and they're in charge. And even if you're, let's say, Jack Ma, you could be yanked out of your own company at someone's whim. And why are our domestic billionaires putting capital there? Why did our major companies put businesses there? At least in Mexico, it would be something like Ross Perot envisioned. We'd have a giant sucking sound to Mexico. It wouldn't be a Roach Motel of capital, ideas, and technology.
And you think all this is going to blow up in their face? You think China is a Roach Motel of capital? Explain.
It's a Roach Motel for those people in America and Europe who have put money there, period. And it's even a Roach Motel for people there, and they're trying to get their money out through Bitcoin and other ridiculous means. Because it is. Because when one guy is when Hitler is in charge of your country, he can do anything he wants. And that's the situation right now with Z and his cronies, the panda. That's who he is. But we're quietly sleeping, with a big difference being that now, instead of having Winston Churchill and a guy actually that can invigorate people towards an overview, we have inverted totalitarianism in our country. We have a defective news organ running our country, not providing oversight to anything. We have a defective political system of people working to Milton Friedman's reverse invisible hand, becoming millionaires in Congress and in the Senate, becoming dinosaurs in office, getting primo healthcare plans. I mean, who cares what the business of the day is in regards to China? What's more important, enriching yourself in Congress or even as a local potentate in some town earning 6 figures or 7 figures in a pension for life and double dipping? What's more important to you? Having a strategic industrial overview, having a geopolitical overview? I can't remember the last guy that was president of our country that was really president. Perhaps it was Richard Nixon, and before that, Roosevelt, Franklin Delano. And besides that, I can't find anyone of note that was actually in charge of our country. And here we are today, paid off, with no ability to support ourselves in the future, having exported our entire industrial base to the Nazis in China. And when it comes to things like pushing back on the Nazis, it's pulling teeth.
I know Trump's he's being
easier to impeach it. It's easier to impeach a guy than it would be to actually address the problem in China. Get him out, troublemaker. Shut him up.
That's what this impeachment's all about.
Of course it is.
The deep state is the communism.
It's communism. The deep state is communism. But the deep state isn't just the government. The deep state is also your corporations, your billionaires, your private capital. The deep state is also people working in jobs that are sort of rice bowl jobs that have no productive use in our society. Those millions of people that Elizabeth Warren was chided for when someone said that if she socialized healthcare, it would actually be more efficient. We'd lose 2 or 3 million people in the insurance industry. That's how far we've fallen. That socialism is actually more efficient than communism. That's how far we've fallen. We can't even get the price on a proctology exam. How do you think we're going to get it up the ass? Just to be frank here.
Um, uh,
Some profanity, but I'm just saying.
no, no, I'm not. We're all adults here. It's
You can't
okay.
get a price on a toenail extraction.
Yeah.
So doesn't a capitalistic system, have something like price finding in a marketplace? Isn't that the basis of it? Can you get a price for anything today? Can you get a price of healthcare? Are you getting the right price of a stock? Are you getting the right statistic? Are you getting truthful information in the news? Or are we living under Pravda? Are we living under truth? Are we living under the Soviet system redux, the matrix revisited? And that's where we are today. Communism. We have the same elements of the communist system with a few twists. And we have the veneer of a republic and a democracy. And in the background of our incompetence resides a true evil in the form of National Socialism, Heil Hitler. And it's there. Who benefits under Nazism? Domestically, in China, party members. Here in the US, corporations, owners of those corporations, both foreign and domestic, billionaires. It's all temporary benefit, and we've sold out our soul for something temporary. And the elite in the Nazi party, they get to control their population totally. Welcome to China. Every single element of Nazism is occurring in China. Crybaby bullying, being the victim of prior wars and history, accrued grievances of the past, racial imperatives, nationalistic fervor, scoffing in international law, total control of information, thousand-year Reich, ethnic cleansing, absorption of geography based on hereditary right, and then the leadership structure, and then the Blitzkrieg using technology and other methods. No Churchill. So as we're the lazy incompetents pre-World War II, Nazism under China grows. And what happened to the Soviet Union during World War II? It was decimated. They lost more people percentage-wise of their population during World War II than any other country, and they won World War II. And our propaganda engines in this country just grew that American exceptionalism that has become the communistic blocking force of today.
I'm going to drill down on this. I mean, you had this Project Veritas. We actually have some journalism left in the country, not at Legacy Media. And you have them with this hot mic with Amy Robach talking about Jeffrey Epstein. She actually says that he'll go down, or somebody in their group said he'll go down as one of the biggest pedophile in American history. So they get this story out. It's excellent reporting. They spiked this story. The story is they spiked this story 3 years ago. Disney is caters to children, and so they Disney sided with the pedophiles, and then this person moved to CBS.
Do you think?
And CBS fired this person.
Do you think that the communists investigated the top officials who were involved in pedophilia or were involved in sex that were sex offenders? Do you think they really even investigated murderers? Do you think if you're a Communist Party member and your son kills someone, they'll actually look into it? So this is just another element that aligns with this, functional communistic narrative I'm talking about.
The mainstream media is midget wrestling.
And it's midget wrestling. The details are the midget wrestling. So I wouldn't even get sucked into any of this. I mean, if you but
it just shows you how far our media has gone down. I mean, you have another media company firing the employee that outed the other company. That's like, oh, you did what in high school? You drove your car 100 miles an hour when you were 17, and now you're 40? Oh, okay, we're firing you for that.
I was on a platform boat, and I'm sitting next to somebody, and we're looking at the beautiful horizon, and sand dollars in the water, palm trees, and fish swimming back and forth, and she says to me, I watch CNN and I get all my information from Rachel Maddow, and she really spells it out for me. And, the next day I'm in the hot tub and I get my information on Fox and they really spell it out to me. You know what? How many of them have mentioned that China are Nazis? How many? How many of them have talked about the United States being the evil empire that Ronald Reagan wanted to defeat? How many? None. So why even talk about the details of these things? You want to pull out statistics? You know, I could write down on a paper and put in my file cabinet any statistic you want. It has just as much veracity as the statistics you get to. If you want to look in the overview, zero interest rate policy, who is it benefiting? How is it? Who is it helping? Who is it hurting? That's something that you could look at that is very important. And this whole question of who is benefiting? Who is benefiting under National Socialism? Who is benefiting under communism? It's very simple. You can identify many people who are benefiting under communism. Everyone in the Senate, everyone in the House, everyone in an insurance company, and anyone writing mortgages, anyone teaching in a university in this country, make work jobs, total make work jobs. Anyone kowtowing to all the paperwork requirements the federal government's requiring to get a loan for education, this whole food chain, cradle to grave, where you are a financial instrument, a battery in the matrix, that is all communism. And not one media outlet is going to report it. And few, but more people are waking up to the fact that Chinese are national socialists, the most evil derivation of socialism ever created by mankind, something that was defeated at great cost to human life, something that thinks that American exceptionalism is something of the past, and it's now time for Chinese exceptionalism, for China to be great again and to rule the world. And guess what? You know, if you're the wrong religion or the wrong color, your eyes look the wrong way, well, guess what? You won't be around much longer because you are inferior and we are the master race.
What would you do to protect yourself? I mean, give us some kind of hope here. I mean,
I think that these are long trends. They last for a very long time. If you really want to protect yourself, turn off the news and get small. Enjoy life. The world is still here. We had 9/11. The world is still here. We had the financial crisis. The world is still here. The physical world is still here. You know, try to avoid some of the traps of communism. Don't borrow lots of money, don't believe the Kool-Aid, don't fill out large forms. I mean, there's lots of things that you could do. Live life well. And as a long trend, these things are going to take years, decades to play out. But at some point, there's sort of the tires hit the road. We had, Neville Chamberlain just biding for time with the Nazis. And we're sort of there today. I mean, if you think about it, 5G is the Neville Chamberlain moment of our time, where this industrial technology, not to be confused with a cell phone technology, is going to be absolutely critical to everything that we do. And there's a war going on for 5G, and the National Socialists are going to use it eventually as a Blitzkrieg weapon against us. And we're more than willing to give them the gun, which is quite amazing to me. It's absolutely, totally amazing to me. And there is some awareness in the Trump administration that this is the case. However, I said to you years ago that Trump wouldn't be allowed to do very much, and I think that's the case. He's not being allowed to do very much.
Warren Pollock, that's 29 minutes of pure beauty. You won't hear this from anybody else. This is why, and this is why other people wanted you to come on, and why I wanted you on, because you say, I'm not going to say the things you want to talk about. No, I want you to say what you want to say.
Yeah, well, I'm going to enjoy my life and take my own advice. So
yeah, well, I hope you come back and give us an update about what's going on. Maybe if Donald Trump makes it to the 2020 election and beyond. I'm hoping he gets reelected. I hope they aren't successful in impeachment. I don't know. It's such a circus. It's such an absolutely evil thing they're doing, and we don't have a functioning media in this country anymore, and everybody is fed crap. And
Greg, when I was on, the media was controlling the Russian narrative. And China wasn't on.
That's right. And you know what?
We were talking about China, and everyone was saying no, not China. So there is a growing awareness about China.
Yeah. And you were saying forget Russia. China's the big enemy, and you were right.
So forget Epstein, forget all this nonsense, and just think China, and then also look inside, look in the mirror, not yourself personally, but look at America and see if you could find elements where our country has become a communist country. And I think you will if you look hard enough.
Warren Pollock, thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com. I really appreciate it. What an eye-opener. You're a big thinking guy. You have a great wealth of information, and also your perception, your analytic skills are fantastic. I mean, you know the truth when you hear it, and I think we just heard the truth. Warren Pollock, thank you for showing off your brain today on USAWatchdog.com. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Greg.